Absolutely not, Candace. All of the systems are controlled by men. You know, it's men who like create all of the social norms. It's men who perpetuate that women have to be a certain figure, and it's men who control all of the industries and it's just all fundamentally men. It's very, very convenient to me how the issue is never you. What's up, world? Welcome back to Cancel Thoughts. It's your boy Better Days here. Candace Owens is my favorite person on the internet, guys. She stands for literally everything that I think is exemplified in a very, very good woman. And I think a lot of ladies nowadays need to start paying attention to people like Candace Owens more and more. And very recently, she had a conversation with Myron Gaines, who I don't necessarily have a lot of love for, but she talked about feminism in a way that I think is very, very poignant. And I think a lot of women actually need to pay attention to this. So I want to show you guys that clip really quickly. Before I get into it, though, guys, if I, by the end of this video, earn you guys a subscription, do me a solid and like the video and subscribe to the channel, guys. It takes a couple of seconds and it helps out more than you guys know. That being said, let's get right into it.
Everybody knows the names of the richest men in the world, and yet nobody knows the names of the richest women in the world. And the women that you do name actually all tapped into their femininity. Taylor Swift was writing songs about relationships. They're tapping in actually to the one thing that actually you think they're standing against. Oh, they're the ultimate feminists. No, they tapped into their femininity and found success. So what is the picture that we're recognizing here? We don't measure success in the same terms as men measure success, nor should we. It's important for women not to think becoming financially rich somehow means that you are successful or that you have triumphed something in life.
So it's been a while since we last spoke. Last time you were on, I remember we did after hours where you were saving a few women's lives. And I did want to tell you this on camera. One of the girls that you spoke to actually quit OnlyFans on that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people think that, I guess, those conversations are not worth it or the show is all theater. But for me, I want to sit across from these young women because anybody's life could have ended that way. You know what I mean? Like I could have ended up being one of these OnlyFans girls if there weren't so many like life interventions, because it's just being sold to women so much that this is the easy way out. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but I wanted to make sure I told you that, you know, on camera, that she literally quit like not too long after you did that show. So that's great, saving lives.
that makes me happy.
So
That's actually really, really amazing. And the internet and things like OnlyFans and the accessibility of it and everything, to me, has been the downfall of modern femininity, in my opinion, because it's literally given men access to women in a way that's never been done before. And it's really like taken the sanctity out of the female body and the intrigue that men used to have with women. It's completely destroyed that, and now you can basically just pay whatever the hell amount of money that they're charging on these websites or whatever to see whatever you kind of want, and it's really destroyed the relationship between men and women. And ladies like Candace Owens need to start having a lot more conversations, in my opinion, with the younger generation of women who are really lost out here because feminism has completely like ruined their perception of reality.
kind of with that, I saw that you had did a debate on Jubilee with a bunch of feminists. Obviously, we're in a modern day age. Things have changed quite a bit. We've both been pretty critical of feminism, but I think with what you're doing, you know, you're able to really reach a demographic of women that just guys like me and Andrew Tate and others just aren't going to reach because, you know, we're abrasive in the way that we get it. So they might want, you know, another female's perspective on, you know, the detriments of feminism and everything else like that. So kind of given how society is now, how do you see feminism today with young women? And then what do you predict is going to happen in the next 5-10 years? Are we getting better? Is it getting worse? What are your thoughts in general on that?
So
I personally think that it's only going to get worse because a lot of these chicks are really just not trying to hear it whatsoever nowadays, especially when you dangle however much money that what's the girl's name that's making like millions and millions of dollars on OnlyFans right now? She Sophie something. Like when you dangle that type of money in front of chicks, especially even if like chicks like that Sophie lady is like the top 0.0001% of earners on that platform or whatever, women are delusional enough to believe that they can be just like that Sophie lady, and they really will go into it not understanding that the average that people are making on websites like that is somewhere around the neighborhood of like $100 a month or something like that. And
it's just not worth it.
like it's good for women like Candace Owens to talk to younger ladies because they're not necessarily trying to hear it from men. And I've been saying this for a very long time as well, and people have called me a misogynist or whatever, and they'll just like try to like invalidate the things that I'm saying because I'm a man. The thing that women like Candace Owens have working for them is they can't call them a misogynist. They can try to or whatever, but they're not able to invalidate some of the things that they're saying because they're a woman. You're saying this because you are seeing the path that women are going down and you don't necessarily like it, because the way this is like kind of manifesting itself, especially in this modern age, we are literally walking down the path to human extinction.
Period.
Because like men are not wanting to have any kind of long-term relationship with women who are quite frankly whores, and women themselves don't necessarily see the value in creating a family and having that family structure because they think that they're chasing the bag or whatever. And it takes women like a Candace Owens and other married women to kind of have this conversation with women and go, hey, if you guys continue to go down this path, this is 99.999% the place that you guys are going to end up. And if that's what you want your life to look like, cool. But I know for a fact that most women do not want their lives to turn out like a lot of these OnlyFans chicks, especially once they start like aging out of the demographic to which they can actually make money off of OnlyFans. Their lives turn into hell. All you chicks who are married and in like long-term happy relationships and whatever, you need to start helping out your sisters. They're not trying to hear it from dudes like me because I'm just a woman-hating misogynist, okay?
Was actually very interested in Tate culture, as I'm going to call it. So I'm going to put you in that orbit of Tate culture, all of these male influencers that were coming out and calling girls bitchs and hoes and all this stuff, and people sat back and were like, oh my god, this is horrible, whatever. But I'm like, wait a second, whatever you think about him, whatever you think about Tristan, whatever you think about Myron, this culture got very big very quickly, and there's got to be something there, right? There has to be. So that was the reason why I flew out to meet Andrew Tate. There was all these conspiracies that I knew him before and all. I met Andrew a total of 2 times before I did his show. My husband hung out with him maybe 3 times in his life before him and I met. He was actually friends with PJW. And that's how I met Andrew.
Gotcha.
Like, so my husband was actually friends with PJW. And I just wanted to know what it was, because I'm never a person that will dismiss something on its face and call it a name. Like, there has to be some substance here. And what was actually happening was you got Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate and you got Myron Gaines because you perpetuated a culture of Lena Dunham's, right? So you're acting like men just got tired of it, is what happened. And finally, men looked around and somebody stood up and said, it's actually okay to be a man and you don't have to listen to any of these women. Now, you may not have liked how they said it. You may not have liked that they were doing this on top of Lamborghinis. But the reality is that what sat beneath that was a horribly toxic culture where women were dictating the terms to men. And every time a man did something that actually felt natural to them, you called it toxic masculinity, and books were written, and Lena Dunham is writing articles, and there's a show about this, and Lena Dunham's naked on Instagram. I wrote a whole chapter about Lena Dunham in my book, and she's naked on Instagram, and she's lecturing.
And she's telling you not to look at her naked body on Instagram instead of her just not posting her naked body on Instagram. That's number one. But going back to what she was saying there, a lot of how this like whole red pill space stuff like got popular is very, very valid. Like, you guys can say they're misogynist or whatever, but it got very, very popular very, very quickly, like Candace just said there, because it's stuff that a lot of men are thinking and people have kind of made it taboo to say out loud.
Think about it.
Men are on and I'm seeing this happen all over the world, and specifically like westernized, like developed countries, where a lot of men are sitting down and looking at the ladies that they have to choose from and going, why the hell would I want this? And by the way, there's a lot of women who are also doing the exact same thing and looking at the men and going, you guys are beneath us or whatever, and toxic masculinity, this and that. And everybody's just kind of like, there's just kind of war going on where everybody is just like trying to like one up the other sex or whatever. And I'm just like, do you guys understand that in order for our species not to go extinct, we have to work this out and we have to come to some sort of compromise here? Otherwise, like, we're just going to end up in 20, 30, 40 years or whatever with a society that isn't necessarily even really a society anymore, with a lot of unhappy people. And I get it, a lot of people are unhappy right now, but if you guys think you're unhappy now, imagine what your life is going to be like in 10, 15, 20, 25 years when you have no social life because you chose to forego having children and a family or whatever, if you think your friends or whatever are going to be there for you in 20 years, just look at the past 20 years of your life and ask yourself, the current friend group that you have now, is it the exact same friend group that you had 20 years ago?
I'll wait.
So if you kind of extrapolate that into what your life is going to look like in the future, what do you think is going to happen? And do you think you're going to be a happier person than you are right now? Or is it going to get worse if you don't start making different decisions?
During you, if you don't want to see her, overweight, naked, and tatted up. So you can't blame the culture, take culture, until you are ready to address where this actually came from, which was women constantly bashing men over the head and telling them that masculinity, full stop, was wrong.
Given the problems that we have, obviously, whether it's me or Tate or other people, will kind of come in and say, hey, this is what you need to do as a guy. This is how the modern day marketplace is now when it comes to dating. What's your approach to kind of combating this problem from a female perspective?
First, you have to understand the origin of feminism, right? You have to understand that this was not a culture and an ideology that came because they wanted women to have equal rights with men, okay?
It's very, very funny to me, and this is where I've kind of gotten a lot of hate, but it's something that I've become very, very enraged by, in that a lot of people will want to call masculinity toxic or whatever until they need masculinity. Nobody has a problem with the uber masculine guy punching out whatever asshole dude is like doing something to them. But then when that same uber masculine guy has some sort of like requirements for you, oh, he's being controlling or he's being toxically masculine or whatever. And there's no real kind of accountability on the other side when you start seeing toxic traits in femininity. And whenever somebody tries to point that out, all of a sudden you're a woman-hating misogynist. It's very, very weird to me. And another thing that she said there that I want to go over as well is that you guys don't understand how upset it makes me when I hear ladies try to tell men what men want or what men should want. It's like, who do you think you are? Like, if a dude was to try to tell you that this is what you should want, you would have such a like disgust and a disdain for that guy. But the idea and the audacity that you have to where you think that you're like dictating to men, or you should be dictating to men what men should want, to me is one of the most hypocritical and ludicrous things like of the modern age.
This was a CIA-sponsored PSYOP. Gloria Steinem was sponsored by the CIA. Okay, these protests were sponsored by men in government. A lot of them homosexual, actually. And the reason for that was simply because they wanted to tax, it was actually twofold, I would say. They wanted to tax household income both ways. And also they wanted women to, instead of focusing on their kids, which comes natural to women, right, to be the quote unquote, like I say, CEO of the household, they wanted to remove that and to have the children given to the government for 6 hours a day. Beyond 6 hours a day, 6 hours a day, plus whatever sports activities, which gives the government full control over the minds of the children. This came straight from the Pale of Settlement. After they assassinated the Tsar, you had these Jewish women like Emma Goldman, who came over to America. Emma Goldman was the mentor to what's her face from Planned Parenthood. I'm blanking on her name for a moment. I'm going to say Margaret Sanger.
Everything she's saying there is completely correct, but the one point that I don't think she gets into, which I would like for her, well, I would like to add, is that they also, given the fact that a lot of these guys were homosexual, they also wanted to perpetuate a society of creating more and more homosexuals. And I don't necessarily know what like the impetus behind that is. Maybe they were like trying to like broaden their own like sexual like opportunity pool or whatever. I don't necessarily know, but they were really, really trying. Like, it's no coincidence that all of the LGBT stuff that we've been seeing in the LGBT agenda or whatever that we've been seeing in media today is being perpetrated in an age where men and women are more divided than they've ever been before. All of this stuff is very, very interconnected. And when she talks about the CIA sponsor, yes, there was a financial incentive, and there is a financial incentive to keeping men and women separate. You could tax two people are consuming like two different products or whatever, and there's more money in the economy as a whole. But there is a much more insidious kind of impetus behind this, in that they are really like trying to population control things. Homosexual relationships are not procreational. Like, you can't have two like homosexual people come together and make a baby.
That's not a judgment. That's just a fact.
I think a lot of these people really want to see the downfall of humanity. And if we continue to allow them to perpetuate these things, that's where we're going to go. We're already there pretty much. Like, we're marching down that road right now. And if we don't turn back very, very quickly, it's only going to get worse, guys. It's really only going to get worse. And these people at the top of the hierarchy, they don't give a damn. They don't care.
That was her mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was, in fact, a very radical communist movement that came to America and sought to overthrow families, family institutions, strong men, feminine women, stands in the way of government and absolute control.
In your book, Make 'Em a Sandwich, what are some of the things that you tell the women? Because I'm assuming it's a book that's going to be centered around how women can kind of get in the marketplace, find a long-term partner, get married. What are some of the strategies that you tell women to implement to find a partner? You don't have to give it all away.
Yeah,
maybe
no,
one
it's
or
fine.
two.
I don't even try in my book to sell them a strategy or a technique. I just tell the truth. So here's the history of feminism. Here's what we were told in school. Here's actually how it went down, right? Knowledge is power. I give them the actual statistics of the fact that what was sold to you was you were going to be just like a man and you were going to be happier. Women are actually more miserable than they've ever been. If you go back and you ask most women about their grandmothers, they remember grandma being happy, right? So what they actually sold to you, now you've achieved this equality, quote unquote equality, and women have never been more miserable. And women are popping more pills than they were popping and finding it harder to find a partner and wondering why. Well, it's because you attacked natural masculinity. You told men that they shouldn't be allowed to lead. Women have to lead. And actually, you didn't want that, right? You were convinced psychologically in a classroom, as I was back when I wanted to be a feminist, or I thought feminism was cool. And you should know that. And I think that that's how you change things without trying to say, here's a strategy and here's how we're going to move forward. Let people know true knowledge, let people know true history, and I think the rest of the stuff happens naturally.
And listen, you're just a consumer at the end of the day to a lot of these people. She said women are popping more pills than ever before. This is something that's been documented now. Yes, the pharmaceutical companies have a vested interest in you being sad and lonely, because then you're consuming their products. Like, pharmaceutical companies are businesses at the end of the day. And yes, if you guys are depressed and if you guys are anxious or whatever, you're going to be popping more pills. You're going to be lifelong consumers for them. That's number one. Number two, women have a biological imperative for maternal, like, they have a biological maternal instinct. Okay, women are meant to have babies, and there is nothing wrong with that. It's quite literally a superpower. And the fact that you guys have been psyoped by this society, this very, very corrupt society that we have, to believe that the one superpower that you guys really, really have is something that you should be actively fighting against, to me is actually really, really sad. And that you guys are falling for it is even sadder. Like, I tend to believe that women are actually very, very intelligent human beings. Despite what people might think on this channel, I don't think women are stupid. But like, the fact that you guys are so impressionable to where you guys can literally be psyoped by these people who do not have your best interests at heart whatsoever, to me, it's sad. It's really, really sad. I would love to see more and more people having families. I would love to see people happier. Right now, we have a society of people who are sad, lonely, and are really, really like downtrodden, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. And the way for it to get better is by people coming together and realizing we need each other.
Or I hope.
For you on your journey, when did you figure out that feminism was a lie? Like, was there a certain event that triggered it that you were like, holy crap, this is BS?
I actually tell the story in this book. I think I do, actually. I think it's in this book, or it's in my last book, actually. It's in Blackout, of this teacher that I had. And I was required to take a Feminism 101. It was called Women's Studies. Maybe it was Women's Studies 201 at the University of Rhode Island. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I'm a feminist, of course. Who doesn't want equality as they sold it?
Yeah.
I get into this classroom, and this teacher, I realized very quickly, was not actually motivated by wanting equality. I was in a classroom where she was trying to convince me that every problem that we had in society was due to men. This was a literal class that was designed to basically teach women to hate men.
Yeah.
Like, no matter, all you had to do to get an A was she would introduce any problem. She could have lost her keys that morning and been like, why did this happen?
Patriarchy.
Well, you know what? Who designed cars? You know who designed cars? Do you know who designed the whole concept of a car key and who designed the couch that you lost it in this morning? It was men. It became to a point where for me it was like laughable.
Yeah.
But there was
And they wonder why men are fleeing college at record pace. Like, there's a lot of classes like this. And I'm somebody who, when I was in college as well, I noticed this as well. And the atmosphere of college today, and I'm glad that she's bringing this up, because the educational system in this country right now, it needs to be overhauled completely. The atmosphere of college today has become such a feminine place that, one, everybody's walking on eggshells because nobody can say anything that's like contrary to the popular opinion or whatever, or you'll be ostracized or you'll fail classes. The bulk of your faculty and the staff or whatever is female, so you don't want to go against them. Otherwise, they're gonna emotionally give you a D or an F or whatever the hell. And it's just they're sitting there literally hating men and then wanting men to support their institutions.
It makes no sense.
And then they sit there and they're asking themselves, where are all the men going? And it's not even just like a man-hating thing. It's a victim mentality that is being perpetuated in a lot of these classes. I've mentioned in the past that I took a few like African-American studies classes. There was one in particular that I remember. And I remember sitting there, and this was during COVID and we were online. And I remember sitting there, and at one point I was like, this class is just churning out activists. Like, there is no point to this class whatsoever other than creating activists against the system or whatever. And I'm like, listen, the system can be, there are ways to improve the system, and it's not like a perfect system by any stretch of the imagination, and I understand that. But there's the element of you need to be able to control the things that you can control, and the things that you can control are you. You cannot be out here trying to change the system without looking in a mirror first and understanding how you got to where you are today, but also what you can do on an individual level to affect your own outcomes. You can't just be sitting around crying, ooh, boo-hoo, me, feel sorry for me. No, you need to take some level of responsibility for your life as well. And when she talks about, oh, this class was teaching men to hate, like women to hate men or whatever, that's 100% fact. I fundamentally think that feminism, not like first wave, but like right after like the first wave feminism or whatever, it has just become a man-hating movement. Like, if you talk to feminists today, these are some of the most insufferable people you will ever meet. They think all men are just like these evil creatures. And it's just like, then what do you think? Like, what do you hope to get out of this? Like, let's be 100%. Like, where do you think this ends if you think that every single man in the world is out to get you and is a rapist or some sort of misogynist? Like, how do you hope to like survive?
There's this one particular class where it clicked for me, because when I was in college, I had an eating disorder. So I was sitting in her class, and I was anorexic, and she gets into this topic of anorexia and eating disorders, and she gave us some statistic about the percentage of women that have eating disorders. And I'm making this up now, but it was something like 80% of people who have eating disorders are women. And she asked the class, why is that? And we were supposed to say, and she did say, that it was because men control the advertising agency and men want women to be skinny. And it had literally, I'm sitting here having this experience, nothing to do with a man. Like, nothing, no man said you're fat, you have to be skinny. That is completely made up. And I'm listening to her try to psychologically convince me that my eating disorder came from a man when it just factually didn't. Most people who suffer with anorexia know it's a control mechanism. It actually has nothing even to do with weight. It just is like, this is the one thing you can control. And I just kind of called her out on that, and I raised my hand. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, well, let's look at another statistic. What percentage of people are juicing up with steroids? Right? That's not a super healthy thing to do. If we said that 90% of it was men, would you have presented to the class that it was because of women, right? Because women are telling them they have to look like this. And she was, when I say she went white, and she said to me, and I always tell the story on stage, she said to me, I feel like you were sent to me from the men's department.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, Candace. All of the systems are controlled by men. You know, it's men who like create all of the social norms. It's men who perpetuate that women have to be a certain figure, and it's men who control all of the industries and it's just all fundamentally men. It's very, very convenient to me how the issue is never you. It's never preached specifically to women to look in the mirror and take some accountability for some of the actions that they've taken in their own lives. No, It's never that. It's always something external that's influencing you to make these bad decisions that you end up making at the end of the day.
I told her back that I was sent to her from the common sense department.
Yeah.
And that everything couldn't be because of men. So I think that was kind of the first time that it clicked for me that this was some sort of a psychological program. In many ways, I was actually saved
And
by.
how old were you at that point?
I was in college,
20s?
so I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
it was the first year of college.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a prerequisite. So it was interesting for me, I think.
Did that make you shift your priorities? Like,
I was never a gun-ho feminist. I just was like in the back of my mind, same way that I was liberal. Like I was never voting Democrat, but if you had asked me, what do you think about this? I would have very quickly been like, of course we need feminism.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of thinking, man, these women are really annoying in this classroom. Because then there were the majors that were there, you know, the people, these women that were tatted up and like growing their armpit hair out. You know, we had those people in class and I was like, I don't like any of these people. So it made me think that there was something more to the feminist movement, I think, that would.
That'll do it. They smell too sometimes, and you're just like, why are you trying so hard to literally like make this statement to where you're actually like putting your own hygiene like in the crosshairs of it? You're just like, bro, it's not that deep. If you want to be a feminist, be a feminist. Like, you don't have to wear it on your sleeve every day. Like, who are you trying to prove something to? Like, most people don't care that much about you to care what your like political affiliations are or what your like perspectives are in terms of social justice and all this shit. Most people are just trying to figure their shit out. But the people, and she alluded to it there, the people that literally like go out of their way to make it their entire identity, to me, are some of the most insufferable people in the world. And the fact of the matter is, they're just Karens, and they just want to be able to tell other people what to do and how to live their lives. And people don't like that.
Was indoctrination.
Interesting. Okay. So I think you've been able to do what every woman dreams of: have a family, have children, have your dream man, but simultaneously being able to also, you know, run a business and do what you want to do. And I noticed when you were debating on Jubilee, some of them tried to say, oh, well, you're a hypocrite. You're over here talking about feminism being bad, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, you obviously have a lot of things set up where you maximize your ability to be with your family, right? You do your show, get out of there, spend time with your family. What would you say to the people that sit there and try to call you a hypocrite because, you know, you're successful in your own right, but you've been able to also balance a family, which many women can't do? They want to do it, but they can't do it. What would your response be to those critics?
First and foremost, do not allow people to rule you by exceptions. What I mean by that is, it is such a mistake to look at my life and to say, Candace did this, and so therefore I can do this. My life is actually exceptional, right? We are sitting in my house. I do things on my own terms. I wake up in the morning. I get to homeschool my kids, right? I'm homeschooling my children for hours. That's now very important to me. I get to do a podcast from home, and I am actually doing something that I enjoy, right? What is the number one thing? If you find any woman that makes it and she's successful, what is she doing? She's tapping into her femininity, communication. Women communicate more than men. I have a whole chapter on this. If you have a daughter and a son, you know this. Girls start speaking faster, and we will speak more words from men for the rest of our lives. And when you actually look, and I ask people in this chapter, if I ask you the question right now, who is the most successful man in the world? Just give me your answer. If you have to name a couple of them.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, the wealthiest people in the world. Like, yeah, I get all of that, and I get the point that she's making here, and she should be making this point because it's a very poignant one, because men and women view success in very different ways, and there is a certain different standard for men and women, and that's how we're different. But I want to go back to the thing where she said, do not allow your life to be ruled by exceptions. Candace Owens is a 0.0001% woman, in my opinion, because she has a family. She has a wealthy husband. Her husband, I believe, is like worth like something like $300 million or something like that. He was like the CEO of some company or whatever. She also gets to run one of the biggest podcasts in the world now. Actually, not even just one of, but she runs the biggest podcast in the world right now. That is not a life that is achievable for the overwhelming majority of people, and women in specific.
It's just not.
I get it, like the media tries to tell you, and we have a very, very major problem in our media in that it glorifies the exceptions to the rule. But you ladies need to understand that the exception to the rule is just that. It is the exception. If you're going out there looking for the exception, you're going to be looking for the rest of your lives, because the exception is the exception for a reason. Okay? It's not just out there in abundance.
I was going to say, like, from a financial perspective?
Just, yeah, sure, full stop. If I
I
said
mean-
who's the most successful man in the world,
I
who
mean,
would
you
you
could
say?
say like the richest guy in the world, who I would be Elon, even though it pains me to say that. But
Okay, yeah, no, but that's
we're
the
gonna
right.
go
You
off-
would say Elon, or you would say
something based on meritocracy, finances, and
you would
status.
say Jeff Bezos. Everyone
Precisely.
would say the same answers, right? If I ask you who is the most successful woman in the world, what would you say?
That's where it gets. Yeah,
Right.
I see what you're
But
saying.
like, what is it? Like off the top of your mind, like what are the names that come to your mind?
Yeah, it's an ambiguous. Like, you're like, okay, well, are we going to go off career? Are we going to go
Yeah,
off where?
But
Versus
most
a man,
people
it's
would
like,
say like Taylor Swift
yeah,
or Oprah.
Mhm.
These women are
Beyonce.
nowhere near the richest women in the world. Nobody knows the name of the richest woman in the world.
Mhm.
And so I go about through this in my chapter. Yeah, you'd say Beyonce. I'm like, these are the names that you would say off the top of your head if I asked you who's the most successful. Nobody knows. Everybody knows the names of the most, the richest men in the world, and yet nobody knows the names of the richest women in the world.
Good
Right?
point.
And nobody knows the names of them. And the answer is a Russian woman. And I talk about this in my book. I'm like, nobody knows her name. And the women that you do name actually all tapped into their femininity. Taylor Swift was writing songs about relationships.
Mhm.
She was writing songs about looking for love,
Mhm.
and women flocked to this. Oprah was communicating to the housewife, right? She was speaking about issues. They're tapping in actually to the one thing that actually you think they're standing against. Oh, they're the ultimate feminists. No, they tapped into their femininity and found success, actually. And women do not, when we think about success, we don't measure it in terms of finances. That's why these women, we think, are the most quote unquote successful women in the world.
Mhm.
The know-it-all in me can't let her get away with this. The richest woman in the world is not some Russian lady. It's actually Alice Walton, one of the heirs to the Walmart empire or whatever. I just can't let that slide, just me personally. But I get the point that she's making here, and that success for men and success for women is very, very different. That being said, though, I'm going to kind of end it on this because I don't want to make this video too long. But when she's talking about Taylor Swift and she's talking about like women like Oprah or whatever, like tapping into their femininity, I don't necessarily agree with that point specifically when it comes to Oprah. I think Oprah is probably the worst example for women to kind of try to aspire to, because Oprah got unfathomably wealthy from just telling women what they wanted to hear. Oprah is one of the prime examples to me of why modern feminism is wrong for women. This is a lady who, she isn't married, even though she has a long-term partner, which I get it for financial reasons. If you don't want to get married and you don't want to be potentially having to split your assets down the middle through divorce, I understand that. But Oprah is one of those people who preached for decades about female empowerment and you don't need no man and all this bullshit, while she's currently right now in a long-term relationship that she's been with like for a very long time now, and like telling women the exact opposite. So I don't necessarily like that. I do like the point that she made about Taylor Swift, and that Taylor Swift is one of those people, and you can see Taylor Swift now in her relationship with Travis Kelce or whatever. She's actually really happy now, and a lot of the ladies that are her fans or whatever, they don't actually necessarily like it, which is another thing that I don't even necessarily want to get into. But a lot of women don't necessarily like, they don't like to see other women happy, which like is very, very insidious in my opinion. But I don't, that aside, Taylor Swift is very, very happy right now, and I think she's gonna be getting married very soon, and is gonna like have kids in the next coming years, and she's like having her music kind of exude that, and it's something that I feel like a lot of women don't necessarily want to see, especially because some of them are like jealous about the fact that she's able to live that type of life, and they're right now struggling from a relationship perspective. But she's 100% right when she talks about success for women. Success for women is primarily predicated on the family structure that they have, the amount of children that they have. And listen, blame biology. Don't blame society. This is not a societal norm thing. Your biological imperative is to nurture children. Like, at the end of the day, that's what you guys are here to do. And again, that is a superpower, and you shouldn't be allowing society to tell you otherwise, okay? But a lot of you guys, if you guys do not get it together very, very soon, in the next coming decade or so, you guys are going to be a lot more lonely. You guys are going to be popping a lot more pills. You guys are going to be a lot sadder. Just look at some of the videos that are going viral on the internet right now, particularly when it comes to women complaining about their circumstances. They're complaining about how the economics are really, really hard right now. They wish they had a man to lean on when it comes to just like being able to supplement their lifestyle and their income. They wish they had a family because they're lonely and they don't have anybody to really talk to. Like, all of those are things where if you guys do not change, it's only going to be getting worse. And again, married ladies or even ladies just in a long-term relationship figuring out how to make it work, you need to start having these conversations with your sisters, because your sisters are going to end up old, alone, and sad, and they're going to be a burden on society. Okay, a lot of what we're seeing, especially from the like welfare state right now, is from a lot of women. It's a lot of women who don't necessarily have anything going for them, relying on the government to kind of bail them out. And when the government says no, they're out here on their asses complaining on the internet. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about this entire situation. Do you guys think feminism was an overall net positive for women? And what do you guys think in terms of his question about where we're going to be going in the next like decade to decade and a half or so? Do you guys think things are going to get better, or do you guys think things are going to get worse? As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me on this video. You guys could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here with me, and I really do appreciate you.
If you liked what you heard today, do me a solid and like the video, share the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Those things really do help out the channel a lot, guys. And if you didn't like what you heard, thanks for allowing me to occupy your time. Consider leaving a comment in the comments down below, letting me know exactly what it was that you disagreed with, and maybe we could talk about it. Either way, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for pressing play on this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.